Hello friends, welcome back to the bench. Today we have a very interesting repair for David from Pennsylvania, and this is a Nickelodeon clock from 1995, which has a faulty display, or at least we're gonna assess that today. Um, so how it manifests, let me just hook up over here. Uh, how it manifests is this is our display, right? So green lines are working just fine, red lines are not. So when you look at the clock, these red lines are missing, right? So you can only partially read the time. So my recommendation was send it over. I'm just going to charge you a bench fee, and we'll take a look inside and see perhaps it's just faulty connection, maybe corroded wire, maybe there's a foam connector. I'm not sure actually what it's called exactly. I call it foam connector, but if you ever disassemble the calculator or old watch, you know what I'm talking about. It's what actually connects to the display. But once I received it and once I gave it a closer look, these red lines are not actually completely broken. They're dimmer. They're significantly dimmer than what they're supposed to be, but the luminosity of each line is the same. So I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that it's the display that is actually responsible for it, and these lines on the display are actually faulty. I found another clock like this with something else broken. I don't remember what, but the display was working for about 60 bucks. So we could order that one and just replace the display on this one. And perhaps that's what we will do. But first we need to confirm that the display is actually faulty, because there could be a number of reasons why we have this behavior. Now, this has been sitting in the box waiting for today for a while because I had to order a screwdriver. It's U-shape screwdriver because we have U-shape screws on it. I do have, obviously I do have bits, but the screws, as it's pretty common on these devices, on these old devices and like radios and stuff, the screws are deep, very deep in the chassis. So the bit is just too, or the screwdriver that holds the bit is too wide, and you can't insert it there. So unfortunately there was a huge delay with this one. Nevertheless, you know, it's not like this is an urgent repair, and at least that's how I felt about it. So I wasn't too worried about, you know, spending a few days waiting for the correct tool. And I also didn't want to like hack anything, because you can take a regular flathead screwdriver and just drill, you know, drill through it, or you know, make this little notch over here, and that will work too. But you know, we're working on a vintage vintage device. This is not replaceable, so I at least don't want to break it any further. You know what I mean? That's the main concern here. That's why, before you guys start giving me crap again in the comments that I'm wearing latex gloves and I'm connected to the discharge clip, well, normally I don't do that, but normally I don't work on devices like these. This obviously has a lot of value to the owner, and this is not exactly replaceable. So if I break this one, it's not like I can replace it, that, or just pay $100 or $150, because I think that's roughly the price on eBay for these devices. But it's, this one's yours, not the it's not the value of the device, it's the value you put on it, and the value that the owner put on this is probably pretty high. So I'm just taking every possible precaution. Not that, I totally agree with comments saying that, worked 50 years in this, I never broke the device by touching it. And that's actually my experience as well. I've never broken the device by touching it through my static electricity on my skin. That doesn't mean it will never happen, right? Because it never happened to me. So it's just a precaution. I just want to do my due diligence. That's the antenna. The backup battery. Okay, that's right. Yep. Okay, so we have a transporter, battery, the panel with buttons and stuff, and we have the board over here. Now, okay. So here we have our display connector. Right, as I expected, it is soldered on. So let's take the board off, flip it, and inspect the connections on the other side. Now, to do it safely, let's see. Because even if I take this glue from over here, it's not gonna give me much. But let's check this. Since it's an old device, this is not something that usually I do, but in old devices, I check the resistance of stuff that is not supposed to be conducting. With this glue, it doesn't seem to be conducting at all, so that's good. But especially the foams and all kind of filters, they accumulate particles, dust particles, and particles that contain metals and carbon and that kind of stuff, and they just start conducting after a while. Oh, check this out. Over here, it looks like this resistor that goes over the chip is touching one of the pins. That's what it looks like to me. You see it over here? This guy. I doubt that would be our problem, although, what is this chip? This is probably TTL logic chip. I wouldn't expect any sophisticated electronics here. Okay, Okay, it doesn't seem like there's cold solder, cracked solder, anything like that. At least based on visual inspection. Oh, there's a solder blob. So I don't see any liquid damage or any signs that there's faulty connection. So most likely we have a faulty screen. I'm contemplating whether to resolder these connections here just to be safe. Alright. But I really don't think that would help. Besides, since the deadlines are not actually dead, they're just dim, that's not consistent with broken connection. If there was indeed broken connection here, those lines would be dead. There would be nothing going on. And this must be the screen. Yes, I have it out though. Let's see what the solder is. Not this tip. Let's use chisel tip. Alright, this is leaded solder. Good old 90s technology. They all seem good. I don't see any reason to resolder these. There's definitely not a voltage issue or supply issue. Then it would look different. So let's assess how much effort is replacing the screen. We can either solder onto the screen or solder on this big cable here, but to resolder that big cable we would have to disassemble it a little further so I have better access from the other side. And it's fine. That's a solder ball. Interesting. Why would there be a solder ball here? Because maybe it's the cable that is damaged? But then again, the lines wouldn't be dim, they would be absent. And I hear you saying that, well, maybe the cable is just cracked enough that it conducts a little bit, just less current. That would be a possibility if the luminosity of each line was different, or if it wasn't kind of intermittent. When you just kind of move it, touch it, the problem would go away. So let's actually give it a test. Let's turn it on and let's touch it around to see if there's any difference. I would not expect it to be. This is definitely a display issue. No change. No change, and we didn't expect it to be the case. So we have a faulty screen, faulty display. Okay, the rest of the screws are holding the board. Okay, and we're also dealing with the glue on the other side. So now we need to figure out how much it will cost to replace it. Because we definitely want to keep the original board, right? We want to replace as little as possible. Keep as many original parts as we can. So, including the cable, if I don't have to replace the cable, how am I gonna replace it? So, I would say we need to replace just the display. So we need to solder the screen. There's soldering on that side. But since I already have it out, let's take a look at the screen. Okay. 24 connections, and we are relatively glued. Not much of this glue over here on this side. There's a lot more on the other side of the cable. Okay, if we had a pin out, we could just connect 5 volts, and since there's 24, there's probably one wire for each segment of the display, for each line. So that way we could confirm that it's indeed a display. But the cable doesn't seem damaged, and I don't see any soldering issues. I don't see any crack or dry or cold solder. Everything looks good. Because these devices from the times where we always used leaded solder. So see, even after years, it looks good. If it was lead-free solder, yeah, this could have looked differently. Yeah. Okay, so we deem it as needs a new display. Now the question is, should I put it back together? Because now we need to reach out to Dave and ask him what he wants to do. To replace the display, or just put it back together. We'll leave it as it is. We don't know, so I think I'm gonna put it back together for now and await response from the owner what to do with it. So I removed more screws than was necessary to disassemble. These 4 and these 2. Didn't need to unscrew them. So only 3 screws were holding the board. Alright, so now we know. So the next disassembly will be easier. So I'm thinking of the next disassembly. How do I know which screws to take out? So it's actually pretty straightforward. So every screw that has this green thing next to it, that is holding the element on the other side, so it's not holding the board. So we don't touch these, only these screws. And there's only 3 of them. So I made this harder on myself. Harder than I need it to be. But that's fine. You don't want to cooperate? Do you know what we do with clocks that do not cooperate? Alrighty, the clock is back together in one piece. Nothing's broken. If we do the display replacement, I'll look into why it's not sitting right here. There's a bit too much gap in my view. And yes, it was like that before I disassembled it. And so I don't know if there's some deformation over there or something. Could be. But I might look into that. Alrighty, so now we need to call the owner and ask what to do next with it. So, display replacement or not. Alrighty, not very exciting video, not very exciting job, but on the other hand, we got an inside look of a 1995 relatively rare Nickelodeon clock. These go about $150 to even $300 on eBay depending on condition, and the broken one or anything faulty on it closer to $50. So this is definitely a nice device. Actually, when my son saw it, he's 8, he went crazy. Like, oh, what it is? What does it do? Obviously, I didn't let him touch it or play with it, because it's this is not a toy. This is a vintage device. There's actually there's a little bit of damage over here. By damage, I mean a little bit of scratching, regular wear and tear. So maybe once we get the replacement, the faulty clock, we can swap some parts and just pick whatever looks best. But it's all in the hands of the owner of this device. So I will let you guys know. And obviously, if Dave wants to replace the display, there'll be a part 2 to this video. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I shall see you in the next one.